witch hunt. That's what President Trump called the raid on his longtime lawyer yesterday. Agents seizing records as part of the probe in New York City coordinated with special counsel Robert Mueller. President Trump speaking out, condemning the raids and the investigation.
I just heard that they broke into the office of one of my personal attorneys, good man, and it's a disgraceful situation. It's a total witch hunt. I've been saying it for a long time. The Attorney General made a terrible mistake when he did this and when he recused himself, or he should have certainly let us know if he was going to recuse himself, and we would have put a different Attorney General in.
Joining me now is the Daily Caller editor-in-chief, Christopher Bedford. Christopher, what do you make of this raid? Because, again, this is not about investigating Russia's interference with the election. And it's not unprecedented, but it's rare that you would have the FBI raid and collect the records of an attorney and his clients.
It's unbelievable. We were watching in the office yesterday on all the televisions with our jaws open because it's such a rare move and it's such a power move. And in order to do something like this, it's going to take sign-off from top people in justice. That means probably the U.S. Attorney in New York and likely Rod Rosenstein himself over down here in Washington, D.C., in order to sign off on a raid like this. And as Dershowitz said on Fox yesterday, they better have a really good reason to violate attorney-client privilege. This is something that is sacred in our legal system. And right now, it's going to take a lot of trust for the American people who don't have a lot of trust for the FBI to say, so wait, you're going to have this group of FBI agents look at it and then decide what the other group of FBI agents are allowed to use. And again, like you said, we're pretty far from Russia right now. We're looking at wire fraud. We're looking at bank fraud. And what that likely is in relation to is what he put down, what the attorney put down when he was moving around money to pay Stormy Daniels $130,000.
I know I kind of scoffed. One of these market guests yesterday brought up market volatility and even threw in Stormy Daniels' name, and I kind of scoffed at it. And I should point out the market did sell off in the last 4 minutes or so of trading on this news because, quite frankly, it was shocking, the overreach of the FBI, if you will. But when the president was speaking yesterday afternoon, Christopher, again, it's some members of the media constantly asking him if they can catch a breath about him firing Bob Mueller. Are you going to fire Bob Mueller? Are you and so it puts him in a situation where he has to answer that, and then that creates a headline for them. But is that really a concern at this point?
Yeah, they'll ask him these obnoxious questions even when he's painting Easter eggs out with the children. I don't think it's looking like right now he's going to fire Bob Mueller, and I don't think that would get him out of any amount of trouble. And this train is already on the rails. It's going. And it's funny, we saw with Bill Clinton where an investigation started and it ended up dealing with these sexual accusations and other things like that. And we're seeing now here with President Donald Trump, an investigation that started with Russian collusion and trying to change your democratic system. And now they're talking about bank fraud and wire fraud, most likely in response to an alleged affair. It's way off the rails.
One thing I do want to point out is that back in 1998, because it is market related, you saw the market sell off yesterday, leading up to the Starr investigation report, which came out on September the 11th of that year, 1998, the market from mid-July until that report came out fell. The S&P 500 fell almost 20%, about 19.4%, but then recovered the entire decline by November 28th, even as impeachment proceedings were moving forward. So again, there could be volatility, there could be nervousness, but again, eventually stocks regain their footing. Leo, do you have a question?
Yeah, the question I wanted to ask is, going back to the justification for the FBI doing this raid, what do you see as the threshold? Because there's going to be so many questions as to what the justification is. Campaign finance laws, what would be the justification that would meet the threshold?
It would basically be that they were afraid that his attorney, Cohen, was going to destroy records. Usually lawyers are given a huge benefit of the doubt, where they're said, all right, you need to turn this over now because we have gotten to a line where we think that this is inappropriate cooperation. And then they let the lawyers turn those records over. Only if there was a real fear and it would have to really be justified, that he would destroy records and hide them in order to defend his client, then maybe that would be a justification for this kind of massive overreach.
So I just want to clarify one point here. This isn't a part of Mueller's investigation. As I understand it, this was a referral Mueller made to the New York, to the Manhattan attorney's office. Is that right? It seems like they're trying to separate whatever's going to come out of this raid. They're trying to separate it off into a completely separate investigation. Is that how you understand it?
That is how I understand it. I mean, this just happened yesterday, so we're still trying to figure stuff out. I mean, it's wild, the news that's been coming out. But yes, Robert Mueller referred this investigation to New York. But again, now New York would have to come back to the Department of Justice because they can't just authorize a raid like this on the president's lawyer when they've got attorney-client privilege to take his computers, to take his files, to take his bank records. So they would have to get, New York would have to go back to the Department of Justice and get a high-ranking official to say, can we do this raid? So maybe separate, but pretty closely connected.
One other point, which I think is pretty important here, is I understand that you would need a federal warrant to do a raid like this. So I'm wondering if you have to get the FISA courts back involved in this. Does this go beyond just a senior person at the Justice Department? Do you actually need the courts involved to obtain the kind of warrant that they got for such an unusual action?
Figuring out exactly how this happened, who ordered it, and where it came from is something, I'll tell you what, I'll have my reporters working on hard all day.
I know, because you've been breaking news right and left on basically spying on a presidential campaign with using a dossier assembled by, that was funded by politicians and funded by the opponent of the campaign that the individual was working for.